Now, next up, we have Mike Beaver, who is the CEO of Global Macro Investment. And he's going to talk, this is a great title, right? No pressure here, Mike. Existential challenges arising from blockchain and AI, threats to global system governance. That is some big kick-ass title. Come on up here. Thank you, Mike, and give it some welly. A welcome, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The existential challenges of increasingly exponential technology are super controversial and obviously complex and long-term. It involves country governance game theory, exponential risk of totalitarianism or WMD terrorism. So we may need to study sanctions, cultural conscience, and anarchy tech that drives or solve these. If you have new big ideas, the Nobel Peace Prize candidate list is still a bit light. We love to chase huge new tech, but with exponential reward comes exponential risk of ruin or far worse. There's a yin counterpoint for most yangs. There's a flip side to coins, especially those 3,000 crazy crypto coins. I'm Mike Beaver, CFA MBA, Global Growth Investor. Call me Mr. Strategy. I'm no wailing Greta Thunberg, but it's just good sustainable business that you need regulatory and social acceptance. So you need to solve huge risks before expecting big approval. Else expect shutdowns, as Facebook is learning now with Libra. Move fast and break things mostly only applies to tiny new firms or industries. Homo sapiens genes haven't changed much in 5,000 years. We have far more cultural or knowledge evolution now, not so much bioevolution. Our veneer of civilization is still thin. Growing smarter, sustainable ideologies and narratives into cultures with more conscience could reduce nefarious risks a lot. Analogical thinking is key to schematically summarize big history or deep strategy episodes into simple narratives for learning and debate. Even machine learning can be seen as several steps, the first few involving unintelligible, subtle clustering, a bit like fuzzy analogical thinking, where only the final step is a clear pattern visible to the human eye. Many technologies in the last 5,000 years of human history have been used for nefarious or exploitative or violent uses in early years until regulation and culture has tamed them. Both blockchain and AI highlight the need to keep adjusting to the changing strengths and weaknesses of the science, tech, maths world versus those of the policy, politics, human worlds that are high context, manipulative, and even deceptive. Blockchain will increasingly need AI when pattern recognition becomes needed to record and retrieve and organize broader identity and event data from oceans of immutable records. Both blockchain and AI involve ever more massive computational power. Moore's law expects chip speed to double every 1 or now 2 years. It's way too early to think about fully automating all money with only blockchain and all decision-making with only AI. But more and more parts can be automated with increasingly carefully debated policy strategy overlay. Politics and nefarious intent are very subjective and complex, needing regulators, judiciary, and informed broader media and opinion. We need banks to originate and manage credit pricing and risks and relationships. We also need central banks to manage global markets, preventing credit cycle bubble crashes, including trade wars that try to make fairer system rules. But the European and Japanese central banks have shown us that QE, quantitative easing bond buying, and negative interest rates may have pushed too far to boost their own national export sales from an over-cheap currency, leading to artificially bigger factory job creation at beggar-thy-neighbor cost to other countries. Money managers in recent years are responding to growing demands by new millennial investors to skew allocations according to ESG ratings. Soon, ESG, environmental social governance, may make up to 1/4 of new fund inflows. Environment is the easiest and first to measure and regulate. Climate change happens slowly, maybe irreversibly, until we notice it too late to fix. Example, most of the polar ice cap has melted. Social is next. We see daily seminar events on social topics due to widespread common sense demand for fairer access and anti-bias and anti-abuse rules to help weaker counterparties. Corporate governance is next, more subtle and complex. We saw the WeWork IPO value collapse 70% before starting. Then it was shelved, partly due to rejection of voting share control and CEO behavior. But country governance is the final frontier taboo topic in ESG, almost too huge for most people to care about. What happens at the 30,000 feet global level or in the next century? Far easier to kick the can down the road to the future or upstairs to higher authorities. Everyone is in a rush to make big bucks now and then retire away from later big dramas, somebody else's problem. Easiest money is often the greasiest money. Ask parents, kids, and new countries. They will often try to take dirty shortcuts until they hit big deterrence penalty walls. Historians such as Andrew Roberts articulate how Germany could have won World War II and end up taking all of Eurasia, and how US was only dragged in by Pearl Harbor in Germany a week later, and how strong deterrence might have stopped it all starting. A related point is that thousands of specialist individuals in the UK were the early primary modernizer of Japan from 1860 to 1930s, without which the Pacific World War II would have been quite impossible. They just didn't think of the governance, risk, and culture conscience. As UK individuals have been the second biggest tech transfer source ever, both for good and bad, we need to take a big part of this new governance effort. So join a think tank. With ever more overwhelming tech governance risks of new countries and the means to civilize them mean ever more careful research. Nefarious countries may do very bad things with many new types of exponential tech because they can, or future leaders may want to. How to tame riskier cultures into safer ones is an enormous, open, deep question, which has no good answers so far, much at all. But we must study and try. After Cold War I was won by the free world, luckily, USSR broke into 16 pieces, but not a very fair meritocratic system so far. Governance in all of human history has always involved apparently a small number of people, usually gaining lots of influence. So we could say, pick your poison. Choose realistically one system ideology after experiencing it relative to all the others, which is the least dirty shirt. It's self-selecting. Divergent, freedom-seeking, or creative idealistic people may often emigrate to perhaps US, UK, or perhaps more traditional, crony, loyal, status, scripts-following type people might often want to stay in relatively authoritarian, simple EMs. The three polarities to monitor strengths and weaknesses of are totalitarianism versus ultra-anarchism kind of jungle versus hopefully a balanced, open, meritocratic governance system, where political pendulum swings left to right in democracies, speaking truth to power and attracting divergent people. Tight central control easily leads to totalitarian control, where all adverse thought can be outlawed. This is increasingly unstoppable, even desired in many frontier emerging markets, as an improvement on a previously relative anarchistic jungle. Totalitarian or ultra-anarchistic terrorist regimes could render any big new tech dangerous without fair regulation. Two huge new governance conundrum threats loom ever larger on our global horizon. A high-tech, watertight totalitarian dark ages too is a fate of humanity that is extremely hard to avoid because tech advances ever more overwhelmingly. This needs sanctions and think tank deep studies in anarchy tech to have any chance of even slowing it down. A high-tech ABCD Armageddon, atomic, biochemical, digital WMD terrorism, is ever cheaper and more accessible, or even an accidental MAD, mutually assured destruction exchange, triggered by a cruel regime, probably smaller. Example, North Korean nuclear ICBMs soon, or Iranian proxy drone or suicide attacks. Crypto coins could be used to hide identity and aid terrorism and buy WMDs, or black hacking, or mercenaries. Full traceability of Bitcoin remains an elusive but hopeful utopian dream. So far. Totalitarian regimes are often more lean, mean, and efficient to unfairly squeeze their counterpart countries, companies, and own citizens. Expect their tougher model to gradually get exported to their ally countries, unless attractive alternatives emerge. Voluntary, free, meritocratic states create mostly noisy debate and confusion and mistakes on the way to far more robust, sustainable solutions. But they are reluctant to pay much social costs on the way to exponential innovation. Perhaps this is their biggest weakness. Also, nefarious states may be more able to hide their riskiest, ambitious new tech projects and methods by muzzling any self-correcting debates and blocking deep monitoring by foreigners. Example, facial recognition is being rolled out on December the 1st in the Middle Kingdom. Only 1% of the 1.4 billion population has full global internet, all via costly virtual private networks that mostly keep getting cut. There is also a growing credit system that includes denying resource access for supposedly adverse political behavior. And with the high GDP growth, probably mostly due to their 10 unfair, unsustainable factors. And also a growing and implacable obsession to dominate AI globally by any means possible. Each human brain neuron has an average of 7,000 connections to other neurons. This truly massive combination potential explains why early limited AI is not a deep threat to humans just yet. But it's only a matter of time before hardware starts to compete. Example, quantum superpositioning could happen within a generation. The first response of humans could be carefully increasing study about AI and blockchain exponential tech use and take far greater care of governance KPIs and risk reduction levers such as sanctions. But longer term artificial general intelligence should emerge and start to completely overtake human capabilities. This leads to the singularity, a complex long-term scenario for another topic like Chatham House. The second big response of humans then is to focus more on enhancing human intelligence, which is at very early stages now a mostly taboo topic due to crazy risks. Expect this to be a big new frontier soon, with more massive direct human risks and rewards than AI, far beyond that popular Limitless movie. Finally, I do run online forums debating investing and big picture topics. We need to be more actively think tanking. Please reach out to me for above, and regarding non-profit structures, direct message me on Twitter, search exponential risk, or even just exponential tech. And good luck to all our grandkids.
Thank you very much, Mark. Much appreciated. Thank you.